Rate increases for a gym owner, they can be terrifying without help, but here's what I heard when I asked about rate increases in Two Brain's private group for gym owners. Person one, we did a 12% rate increase last year and 4% last week with zero issues. Gym owner number two said, I increased rates on Jan 1 for personal training clients. It went great. Number three said, I just raised rates 3% last Friday. 0 people canceled and 3 asked for an even higher package. They wanted to pay more because they found new rates and new value in that situation. Number 4, I failed miserably pre-Two Brain and had a few really successful ones in the last 3 to 4 years with the help of a mentor. Plural. He said successful ones in the last 3 to 4 years. So he's done it several times successfully. So rate increases do not have to be painful. That's good news because inflation is a thing. And many of us, like me, did not set our rates properly in the first place and have to fix them so our businesses don't go under. Today, I'm going to dig into another rate increase to help you get over your fears. This is Run a Profitable Gym. I'm Mike Warkentin. Please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. And do me a favor, hit a like on this video if you're on YouTube. That would be a great help for us. I appreciate it. Now, Chris Lomen owns Ripple Effect Community Fitness in St. Paul, Minnesota. He raised rates in January, didn't lose a single person. So Chris, welcome. Are you ready to dig into this and help some gym owners?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm excited about this. I love hearing this. My greatest fear when I was going to raise rates is everyone is going to leave. And my mentor said, it's not going to happen. Trust me. And it was really scary. And when I did it, nobody left. And that's a very common response, but it's not common if you raise rates the wrong way. And there are some things you can do that will really cause problems. Doing it with a plan usually works out great. So let's dig into this. First of all, set the table. What are the details of your January increase? Why did you increase? Like how much? What was the general response? Give us the 1,000-foot view.
Yeah, so it had been a while. We were overdue for a rate increase. I felt good about where we were at for a long time because when we opened 5.5 years ago, so we started at a really good spot. So we'd only raised rates one time since then. Back in like 2021, I think. So we were overdue for that. I just had some goals for where the gym needed to be with how expenses had increased. Our rent went up by 20% this year, things like that. So we needed to start to cover some of that gap. So that was one of the places we wanted to do it. So it was a pretty big increase. It was about 15%, which is about the top end of what Two Brain usually recommends to do at one time.
15 is usually about the most. Otherwise, I'll do it stepwise.
Yeah. So we did it. I just wanted to do the rip the Band-Aid off thing and not have to stagger it over a long period of time. So yeah, it was, that was what we upped it for about 15% across the board for all of our group rates. We had increased our personal training recently last year. So this was just classes.
How much did you up it in 2021? Do you recall?
It was about $10 a month for people. So It was a smaller rate for most people. And that was where we were originally monthly. We're bi-weekly billing now too. So there's some.
So you bring an interesting point, and this is something that happens is like you set your rates and maybe you set them well. Like you said, you put yourself in a pretty good spot. I didn't do that, but that's a different story. But you did a good job of that. But then situations change because you come up on a rent increase or sometimes inflation is a major thing. And so if you're out there as a gym owner and you set your rates, even if you did it right 5 years ago, they might not be right now. And the only way to know that is to run your financials, look at your P&L statement, figure out your profit margins, figure out what you need to earn, what the business needs to earn to be healthy, and then change rates if you need to. And there are exact formulas for this. So a Two Brain mentor can show you on a spreadsheet that this is exactly what needs to happen. And Chris mentioned an important point. 15% is about the maximum you want to do at one time. Once you get over that, can be tricky, very tricky. And often what the Two Brain mentor will do is like say, we're going to do, 8% here and then another 9% the next, in 6 or 8 months or whatever the plan is. But the idea is moving that in a way that it doesn't upset clients. Chris successfully put in 15%, which is going to fix things for the business in terms of like the rent you said went up a lot. You kind of have to do that, right? Like when your expenses go up, that eats it like rent. It eats into your top line right away or your bottom line, pardon me.
Yeah, for sure. And, every gym's a little different, but our classes are capped at 8 people. So we have a very small, tight-knit community, and we want to keep that level of coaching and everything really high. So we have to have people paying a higher rate per person than some other gyms. So that's just one of the ways we can't just keep adding more and more people to our classes. There's just not space for it, and that's not what we want. So this is a way for us to keep moving along without having to compromise on that too.
And that makes perfect sense because you could. The other path that maybe I wouldn't recommend here is you could ram more people into that class and try and fill it up and get more, whatever, but that's not the vibe and that's not what you're selling. So by cheapening your product, you're reducing value and that's not the greatest path. You went the other way and said, hey, we got a great product. We had a great space. We're here for the long term. This is what we're doing. We're going to raise rates here and deliver the best service we can without changing the thing that you love. And that's a really strong play. You've done a rate increase before. So did you feel better about going into this one, or were you still nervous like I was?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so this is my second gym. My first gym we opened in 2014, had no idea what we were doing. Did the thing where like, oh, we're the new gym. We need to be the cheapest gym around.
Yeah, I did that
and
too.
So, that's a lot of this work of successful rate increases comes like in the how you set yourself up beforehand and the value you show beforehand. But if your only kind of value proposition to people is that you're cheaper than the gym down the street, then when you're not cheaper anymore, then you're going to like have a lot harder time. Right. So that's what happened the first time around. Like that $10 rate increase we did was like a much bigger deal. We did lose people. It was worth it in the long run. Because if someone's probably going to leave on a $5 or $10 increase, they were probably on their way out the door anyway. And we're still kind of looking for that. But yeah, like, but that's just part of it now. Like people know we're not the cheapest gym around. And like, that's never been kind of our, proposition for people. So it makes it easier this time.
Still nervous though? Was it nerve wracking to hit that button?
Oh yeah. There's always that like, but I know, again, we have, about 75, 80 members at our gym. So it's small. High average revenue per member, but small number of members. So I know people really well. And I sat there, thought through my head, like, who am I probably going to hear from? I thought of two people that I thought I might hear back from. I heard back from one person, just like basically just saying like, oh, this is surprising or something like that. And that was it. Like I knew they were going to say something, but they weren't going to leave. But yeah, it's always nerve wracking when you do it. But compared to the first time around where I was like, the gym's going to go under, like everybody's going to leave, people are going to revolt or whatever. And just having the community, the Two Brain community too. Like I can text some of my friends in the group, be like, all right, rate increase going out tonight. Like send good vibes, like everybody gets it. So that helps too. But yeah, just having the playbook, like I didn't have to do anything special or different. Like I followed the kind of the script that Two Brain has that works well. And that helped. Like it's super simple. I see a lot of people like writing these like walls of text in these like emails trying to justify all their different price increases and stuff. And like, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah. And I was that guy where I had the Two Brain text. It was very short and simple. And then I revised it and wrote this giant long thing because I'm a writer. I'm like, I got to explain more and do this. And it was a big step for me to say, no, you know what? Don't do it your way. Do it the way that has been tested, that your mentor recommended. And I deleted all the stuff that I was putting in there about justifying and this and, explaining, over explaining. And I just sent what my mentor told me to send. It went much better. And that's the point, is that this stuff has been tested. The other thing that I love that you mentioned is this process of looking at your members and saying, there's an actual process that the mentor uses. Who's likely to leave? Who am I sure of? Who's maybe on the fence? Who's a goner if I do this? And you look at them and you would mark them red, green, and yellow. And again, we're not making people into like little boxes on spreadsheets, but the idea is you do have to run a business and it does come down to numbers. So you do this. And then you start saying, okay, even if I lose all my reds, all of them, is my rate increase still going to generate more revenue? And for me, it was like, yes, it will. So this is a win no matter what, even if they lose, because I need to do this to fix the business, I'm going to earn more revenue, even if these people leave. And then when I bring in new people to replace them, it's at a better rate that's going to sustain my business and allow me to take a day off. You just got back from Mexico, did you not?
I sure did.
There you go. And that's a rate increase helps with stuff like that, because as an owner, you need to be fresh because you can't think if you're just constantly stressed out in your business. So talk to me a little bit more about the planning of this thing. When did you and your mentor start planning this rate increase? And how long was it from the initial, like, I might need to do this, to rolling it out?
So I think this was something that came up in the September Tinker meetup in Columbus. So we do 90-day sprints in Tinker where we kind of think through what we want the next quarter to look like. So I was kind of thinking ahead to like, okay, January 2025, what do I want like kind of my revenue and things to look like going forward from that? So I kind of had that as my goalpost. And that was one of the tactics we needed to do that I knew was probably overdue, was raising our group rates.
So September is your start point.
Yeah, September is like when I first started kicking around. I have one full-time coach who's, like kind of my operations person at the gym. We sat down and kind of mapped it out. What do we think the price changes should be? Ran it by my mentor, Courtney. And then we sent that email on December 2nd. So it took a little bit of time just to get all the details in time. But then we actually raised the rates on January 15th. So we gave people about a 6-week heads up, just to make sure nobody was surprised, waited till after the holidays. So yeah, I mean, you could do it faster, but I think it's important to give people enough heads up that they feel like they have time to talk about it with you and like plan a little bit if they need to.
And that's one of the things the mentors have recommended timelines, and they'll tell you, we recommend you announce here and for the increase there. So meaning like it might be a lead time of whatever it was. but they'll work with you to figure out what's best for your unique situation. I love what you said. You said it took like a bit of time to get this going, but in reality, this is part of your quarterly and annual plan. You came up with this in September and you looked at it and said, here's where I want to be in January. And that's forward thinking. And that's what a CEO needs to do. And I never did that. I was month to month where I was just like, holy crap, I just need to figure out like 3 more members and like spinning plates, the whole deal. You sat down and said, I think this might be needed. I'm going to plan this, execute, done, quarter. And all of a sudden, January 2025, and you're in great shape. You hinted at some of this stuff, but give me a few more details. What are some of the key elements of the plan with your mentor that helped you sleep at night when you're thinking about this thing?
Yeah, I think like you said, like walking through my list of members and thinking is there anybody that I'm pretty confident is going to leave? And usually it's those people who, are showing up really sporadically. Like those are the people that you tend to probably lose if you do the price increase, right? But we don't have
it's usually they're on the edge anyway, right?
Right, exactly. If a $5 increase is going to make them quit, like they were probably on the verge of quitting anyway. And like you'll be able to replace them with somebody who's going to come more and contribute more to the community anyway. So yeah, just the pre-planning, looking at members and everything, running those numbers and projecting like, oh, what will our revenue look like with this versus without? Like that's usually like a pretty motivating factor to do it too. Be like, it's going to be worth it. Yeah, like just following the script and I like running it by my mentor. Like it doesn't have to be as complicated and as hard as people think, I think. Yeah. But I like doing it in January too, because then you can say, here's our 2025 rates, right? And
there are some gyms, and I wish I had done this, that will do an annual increase every year. And it's just part of the thing. And it's just like on intake, members know, rates go up every January and it's just an established part of the business. How great is that for the business? Because
Netflix is going to do it. Every other subscription that you have is going to probably go up every year. And I think it's helped a lot too. We've never like grandfathered anybody in it, or kept people at their old prices. Like that gets people into a lot of trouble too.
It really does.
Yeah. Like, yeah, Netflix isn't going to let me keep my same rate from 10 years ago because I've been a long-term customer. Like it just doesn't work like that,
Yeah. And it's not about gouging clients and taking more and all this other stuff. But the reality is like, as a gym owner, business owner out there, how often has your landlord said, hey, your rent's going down by $1,500 next year? It never happens, right? Like the phone company never says, oh, you're getting cheaper service or this, like your costs always go up. It's just the nature of the society we live in with inflation and so forth. It just happens. And if you don't raise rates, you're actually falling behind every year. So some of these annual increases that I see gym owners doing, they're brilliant. And in the sense of like, instead of going 10 or 15% like we did every 5 years or something, they're going 2% a year, staying pace with whatever they need. Yep. And all of a sudden, everything works out just fine. And their members know it and don't bat an eye because 2% is really nothing in the grand scheme of things, right?
Right, exactly.
And there's a plan for that, of course. So you actually did the thing again where you went through and said, if these people leave, I lose this revenue, but I gain this overall. Did you actually use that math?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. Like I said, there were only a couple of people I thought were like maybe yellows.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like every gym's so different. Like the smaller community helps a lot. People are really plugged in. So we usually have a pretty good pulse on that.
I mean, if you're selling, high value coaching to 80 people in your gym and you named it community fitness and you've got people in this tight group, you're probably going to have less reds and yellows. There might be a few in there. Larger gym, I think when I did our rate increase, I think we had about 200 members and we were doing the big group model where we had larger classes and things like that. And we had, I think I put in, 20 reds or something like that, less than that left. And in fact, people said to me afterwards, some people came up and said, it's about time. We were worried about you. Thank you for doing this. There was no problem. So talk about your rollout. What was the reaction when you said this? Like, what did people tell you at ground level?
Yeah, I mean, because I think, for background too, there's been a lot of gyms that have closed in our neighborhood in the last year, especially. So we've had a lot of people coming from gyms that have closed. I've had a couple people that went to a new gym because their gym closed and then their new gym closed and were their third gym in the last year. So they're like, you're not going to close, right? And like, this is something like, having the skills and being willing to take the hard steps that are necessary because, I want to stay in business. It's in their best interest and mine for us to be in business as long as possible. It's just part of it, right? Like, as much as I don't want people to have to pay more, but like realistically, like I'm paying more every year for everything I'm putting out, right? And that's part of it too, I think, is all the time you have to show that you're worth it, right? And like, doing the small things and the bigger things to like show your members that you are progressing as a gym too, whether that's like a little bit of new equipment here and there. Like we expanded our space this year significantly, like added more class times, things like that. So there's ways to kind of show that too. you're raising rates every year, but you have the same old equipment and like, I don't know, that makes it harder too.
Yeah, it really does. A few things like it's as simple sometimes as just like a coat of paint somewhere and people think, this place is moving and it's just like revising a few things, maybe a new piece of equipment, fixing some stuff. And there are ways to show that value. The other thing is just to like showcase the value of your coaching and the results. So like in goal reviews, you've lost 10 pounds, you're halfway on your goal to 20, incredible progress. And the member's like, yeah, I'm accomplishing a huge life goal that's going to affect my fitness and health. Oh, $15 extra for that? Sure. So did people did you said one person kind of emailed was like, okay. But were the rest more or less just like business as usual? Or did you get people come up and talk to you and say, hey, good work?
Yeah, no, like I said, a couple of those new people were like, yeah, kind of like this good. This is about time. Cause like when they came in for the intros, it was like we were less expensive than they expected. So yeah, it was interesting. A different experience than I had my first time around with my first gym.
What did people do there? How was the response then in 2021?
Well, we had a lot more people like complain about it and like kind of talk to each other. It wasn't like it was a huge disaster, but again, like we were the cheapest gym around and like a lot of people chose us because we were $10 cheaper than the place down the street. And then suddenly we're not. It's like, well, yeah, they felt like they had the rug pulled out from under them or something.
Yeah, it's called the race to the bottom, right? If you keep trying to be the cheapest in town, you got to keep dropping your rates to be the cheapest in town. And eventually, like, you got to find like 8,000 clients to $20 a month or whatever it is to pay the bills. It doesn't work like that. And especially in a coaching gym, being the race to sell the cheapest coaching is not a good race to be. You do not want to win that one because like, let's say you're selling budget PT for $24.99. Like, what's that going to look like? How much do you have to sell to fill your gym, like, or to make the revenue? Not a good thing at all. And so that's an interesting thing that you said. It went way worse when you had marketed yourself as a cheaper gym. It went way better when you marketed yourself as like top steakhouse in town kind of thing.
And we did that first time around. We had people who were grandfathered in because like my first gym originally started in a 2-car garage. So like we had basically no overhead. So we could make it pretty cheap. Then we moved to like a big real gym space and we let those people keep it for a while. So when we actually that was like a big jump for people. So that was hard. Like again, the grandfathering rates thing is just, it's not worth it.
That's a tough one. And, if you're listening, there is a plan for this too, because some gyms have massive discounts in place. Removing discounts can be a rate increase, right? And you have to like roll this out properly, right? But the best way to do this is just to stop offering discounts to new clients. That's your starting point. And you don't have to change anything because they don't know that there's a discount. You just stop offering the 10% discount. Everyone who comes in at that rate, at the real rate, is just business as usual. If you want to backfill, I would ask you to, check with a mentor on exactly how to do that. Because if, let's say, for example, I had some half price members and they were my founding members. I had a group of about 10 or 11, been with me for a very long time, and I had them at half price. If I'm going to bring them up to the rate that it should be, which probably should have been closer to $200 or something like that, doing that overnight, maybe not the best thing, but a mentor can tell you how to do this. So if you have discounts in place, a good step, get rid of them. A first step, stop offering them in the first place,
Oh, 100%. That's not as hard as people think either.
No.
It's like, do you have a discount for couples? No, we don't. And then they move on. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. Like,
and it's just no, we don't. That's the great answer. Like, I love that answer.
That's it. That's the end of the answer. Like, you don't have to justify it or go like, it's fine. People don't usually press on it.
Do you do goal review sessions?
That's not something we're as good at as I'd like to be. We've gone through phases where we're really good at it and then some where we're not. We have a lot of clients who do hybrid memberships where they do group and PT. So like they're getting to check in a lot with coaches, like our smaller classes. It's easier for us to keep a pulse on people than some of the bigger gyms that have, the 20-person classes.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because goal review sessions can be a great place to show value because you get clients and every 90 days you meet with them and say, here's what you've done over the last 90 days. Holy crap, you're making amazing progress. This is where we're going. We're going to adjust this plan slightly so you go even faster, but this is incredible progress and that builds a ton of value. I've heard from gym owners in your similar situation regularly that if you have a lot of PT and a small number of members, you're seeing every member so often and you're so tight that the goal review session sometimes doesn't fit into that plan as often as you're like. But, obviously you see the value in it if it's something you're thinking about doing. But the point is that, in a PT setting, you can talk to these members twice a week or 3 times a week. And you're telling them, dude, you lifted 5 pounds more than last month. Incredible work. And that's kind of a goal review session on the fly. So I get what you're saying there. But listeners, if you're out there and you don't do goal review sessions, they are a great thing to do to increase the value of your business. Meet with the members, tell them where they've been, tell them where they're going, congratulate them, high five them, adjust their prescriptions. That's coaching. You don't sell workouts, you sell coaching, and coaching is valuable. So that's a great way to raise the value of that. As we close this one down, Chris, gym owners listening, scared about increasing rates, what is the best thing that they can do to go forward?
I think if you don't have a mentor, you should get one, because it helps a lot to talk to people who have done it before, with hundreds of other clients, dozens of other gyms and everything. Like, you just got to do it. Like, it's not easy, especially if you're kind of trying to catch up and it's been a long time, but it's in your best interest, your client's best, your whole community's best interest that you stay in business for as long as you can. Part of that is just making sure you're actually making enough money to make it feasible for you as a gym owner. Like, yeah, I've been there where you're just working for free. It's not good. No. It's not going to last long.
No. And get this, Chris, I started my gym in 2011, physical space, or 2012, I think. By 2014, I knew my rates were too low. And I literally put in Zen Planner, I put a rate increase, like increased membership prices in there. I didn't pull the trigger, I think, until I want to say 2019. So 5 years, I had those things sitting there. And I did the math on what it cost me. It was 6 figures. So yeah, 6 figures I lost because I just didn't make that change that I knew in 2014 I had to do. Yeah. The cost of mentorship is not 6 figures. If someone had said, dude, here's how you do it. We're going to do it in the next quarter exactly like this, and it's going to be fine. And you're going to make more money. I would literally have an extra 6 figures in my bank account.
Yep.
So I'd encourage you listeners, if you have any doubts about this, book a call, link in the show notes, and talk about it. And you can figure out the plan, because the numbers are the important part. It's not a pie in the sky kind of thing. It comes down, exactly to data. And if you do that, things will work out much better. And I'll remind you, and Chris, I'm going to ask you about this after I say it. My position is that rate increases actually benefit your clients because they get better service, they get a better gym, they get better coaching, they get a less stressed owner, they get better gear, better equipment. They get all these things that come from a stable business, as opposed to a frustrated, angry, overworked coach who's kind of cranky. And that was me. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, because it's all going to, the energy you bring as the owner is going to kind of permeate everything. So yeah, if you're burnt out and frustrated and barely getting by and having to scrap with rusty barbells and everything, that's a recipe for burnout.
Do you know Greg Strau, the mentor?
Yeah, I know who Greg is.
Yeah. So listeners, Greg Strau is one of our senior mentors. He's been around for a long time. We did a show. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. He has done, at that point of the show, 81 rate increases with all his mentees. So 81 the number is approaching probably 100 now. Not one single gym lost all its clients and went under. So if you have any doubts about anything that Chris and I are saying here, go check out that show. And that's 81 for 81 rate increases where the gym came out better on the other end. Chris, thanks for sharing your story. I hope you get back to Mexico soon as a result of running a good business and being a great owner.
Let's hope so.
All right. That was Chris Lomen. I'm Mike Warkentin, and this is Run a Profitable Gym. Again, thanks for listening. Please hit a like on this show and subscribe so you don't miss any more just like it. And now here's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a final message.
Hey, it's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a quick note. We created the Gym Owners United Facebook group to help you run a profitable gym. Thousands of gym owners just like you have already joined. In the group, we share sound advice about the business of fitness every day. I answer questions, I run free webinars, and I give away all kinds of great resources to help you grow your gym. I'd love to have you in that group. It's Gym Owners United on Facebook, or go to gymownersunited.com to join. Do it today.